Good morning, first grade. Today we're going to start with phonics on pages 145 and 146. And you're probably thinking that looks familiar. We just finished talking about contractions in English, and now we're going to talk about them in phonics. But before we start, let's read the poem at the top of the page. Everyone point to the green poem and read it with me. I'll build a rocket. We'll go to the moon. We'll explore outer space. You'll be home by noon. Okay, let's read it like turtles. Ready? I'll build a rocket. We'll go to the moon. We'll explore outer space. You'll be home by noon. All right, now we're going to read it like robots. Ready? I'll build a rocket. We'll go to the moon. We'll explore outer space. You'll be home by noon. And now cheetahs. I'll build a rocket. We'll go to the moon. We'll explore outer space. You'll be home by noon. And our directions tell us print a contraction from the box that means the same as the two words beside each line. Now remember, a contraction is when we take two words and put them together, but instead of being a compound word where we put two words together, we're going to take out some of the letters and replace them with an apostrophe. And on the front of your phonics today, they're using the word will in all of the contractions. So we're just going to review how we make a contraction with the word will. So everybody, let's look up here. It says, I will. Remember, when we write our contractions, we start by writing the first word. So I'm going to write I. We're going to cross out the W and the I, put an apostrophe in its place, and write the LL. So the contraction we make from I will is I'll. All right, and you'll see I'll in our poem. Let's look at the second line, or the first line. I'll build a rocket. We found I'll. Let's go to the second line. We'll go to the moon. What's the contraction? We'll. Good. The next one is also we'll. We'll explore outer space. And the contraction in the last sentence, you'll be home by noon, is you'll. Good. All right, let's go down to the yellow box. Let's read those instructions together. Print a contraction from the box that means the same as the two words beside each line. So when we look at the green box, we're going to read the contractions. You'll, they'll, she'll, we'll, I'll, he'll. And let's go down to number one. Number one says, I will. What is the contraction you can make from I will? Okay, I hope you chose I'll. Circle I'll in the second line. Make sure when you write it, you make sure you remember to use an uppercase I, because the word I is always written as an uppercase I. Okay, let's go to the instructions in the middle. It says print the short form of the two underlined words in each sentence. Number 7 says, I will get in the boat after you. The underlined words are I will. If you don't remember how to write the contraction for I will, look up at the green box. Okay? Next to number 7, we're going to write I'll. Remember, it's an uppercase I, apostrophe L, L. Turn your papers over. Okay. On the back, all of our contractions are going to have the word not as the second word. So we're going to review how to write a contraction using the word not. So if I have does not, remember I'm going to write my first word does. I don't need the O, so I'm going to cross that out. I'm going to write N apostrophe T. So the contraction for does not is doesn't. All right. Let's look at the instructions on the top of the page. Print a contraction from the box that means the same as the two words beside each line. Let's start by reading the words in the purple box. Can't, couldn't, weren't, doesn't, don't. Didn't, aren't, isn't, won't, haven't. All right, so number 1 says are not. Which word in the purple box is the contraction for are not? Okay, I hope you found aren't in the second row. Circle aren't and print it on the line. Listen very carefully to the instructions at the bottom of the page. Every year, I have someone who gets this wrong just because they don't follow the directions. Listen carefully. Print 2 words that mean the same as each underlined word. Okay? It says, Mitten the kitten can't get down from the tree. The underlined word is can't. You're not writing the contraction. You're writing the 2 words that make up the contraction. So the 2 words that you use to write can't are can not. So on number 11, make sure you write can not. All right, when you come back, we'll be ready to do math. All right, we're back for math. We're on lesson 8-3, chapter 8, lesson 3, on pages 357 and 358. And we're going to talk about quarters today. Everyone look at the picture of the quarters next to the, or just under the little girl. And it shows heads and tails. It says 1 quarter equals 25 cents. We don't have to do this today in our lesson, but I thought it would be fun to count by 25s as if we're counting quarters. If each quarter is 25 cents, just like we can count nickels by 5s, we can count dimes by 10s, we're going to count quarters, and we're going to do it like this. Everyone stand up. They say 25, 50, 75, 100, 25, 50, 75, 100. 2 more times. 25, 50, 75, 100, 25, 50, 75, 100. All right, so remember our quarter is 25 cents. And today we're just counting quarters and pennies. So if our quarter is 25 cents, we're going to start with, I hope you said 25, and add on. So let's look at our paper. Next to the picture of the little girl, it has a quarter. It says 25 cents. And then you have to start counting by 1. So what comes after 25 when we're counting? 26. So we're going to go from 25 to 26. Ready? 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay? I did another example on the board. 25, 26, 27. And remember when you write that, you're writing as you're counting. 25, we're not going to say a penny's 1 cent and write a 1. We're going to keep counting. So 25, 26, 27. And because we're talking about money, we need to go back and write the cent sign. Okay? Let's do number 1 together. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We have 30 cents. So you're going to trace those numbers on the line, and there's a change purse at the end. Make sure you trace 30 cents because that's how much money is going into the change purse. Okay. Let's go down to number 4. It says describe a penny, a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. So what's a penny worth? 1 cent. Very good. How about a nickel? Do you remember what a nickel is worth? I hope you said 5 cents. A dime is worth how much? I hope you said 10 cents. And we just said a quarter is 25 cents. So since we just went over that, you may put a check mark on number 4 and turn your paper over. Okay. On the back, you're doing the same thing you did on the front. You're counting the money and writing the amount on the purse. At the bottom, it says critical thinking, and you can draw a picture for this. If you can do it in your head, count it in your head, that's fine. Or you can ask your parents if you can use some of their coins, okay? It says Matt has 25 pennies. He wants to trade all his pennies for other coins. Write 3 other ways he can trade his pennies for other coins. All right, so in number 8, there's a nickel. So remember, we're going to count by 5s until we get to 25 cents. How many nickels will he need? Okay. And you can pause this and figure it out or come back to it. How many quarters will he need for 25 cents? Well, if a quarter is 25 cents, we know he'll just need 1. And then at the bottom, there's a picture of a nickel and a picture of a dime. And you can make 25 cents any way you would like to with nickels and dimes and write how many you used of each. After we do this, we're going to come back and do one more set of math pages. We're going to do pages 303 and 304. See you in a minute. All right, hi guys. Welcome back for our second math lesson today. We're talking about plane shapes like we did on Tuesday. Remember, plane shapes are shapes that are flat. And remember, on Tuesday, we also talked about closed shapes and open shapes. Remember, a closed shape is one where if I had a flap and I filled it up, I could close it. And if I dumped it upside down, it was full of water, it won't pour out. Remember, if I'm looking at an open shape, there's an opening. If I filled that with water and dumped it over, the water would pour out. It's an open shape. All of our shapes today are plane shapes and closed shapes. So let's look at those shapes at the top of our page. It says some closed figures have sides or straight lines. The point where 2 sides meet is called a vertex or corner. So remember, vertex is just a fancy name for a corner. All right, let's look at our first shape. We have a triangle. Let's count the sides. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Our triangle has 3 sides. Let's count the corners. Remember, our fancy word for a corner is a vertex, so we're going to point to each vertex to count our corners. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And we have 3 corners. Now, if we look at our next shape with our circle, a lot of people think that a circle has one side because it has one straight line that makes a circle, but it doesn't. Our sides have to meet at a vertex or a corner. There are no corners in our circle, so it has 0 sides and 0 corners. And our last shape is a pentagon. Pentagon has 5 sides and 5 corners. Let's count them. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners. And count to each vertex, or 5 sides. And then let's count to each vertex as we count our corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So remember, we're going to count our corners and our sides. Let's look at number 1. It says trace each figure. Draw a dot at each vertex. That's very important. That's something a lot of first graders forget and they get it marked wrong. Make sure you draw a dot at each vertex. And then write how many sides and corners each shape has. So let's look at number 1. Number 1 looks like this. Okay. We're going to trace our sides. To make our triangle, make sure we draw a dot at each vertex. Let's count our sides. 1, 2, 3. And so where it says blank sides, we're going to write 3. And we'll count our corners. 1, 2, 3. So where it says blank corners, we're also going to trace the 3. Okay. You're going to finish the shapes on the front doing the same thing. So let's go down to number 7. Look at the number of sides and corners in each figure above. What do you notice? We're going to look at the ones in our example at the top. If we notice, the triangle has 3 sides and 3 corners. The circle has 0 sides and 0 corners. The pentagon has 5 sides and 5 corners. The triangle in number 1, 3 sides and 3 corners. I hope you notice that they have the same number of sides and corners. So put a check mark on number 7 and turn your paper over. You're going to do the same thing on the back. And then we're going to go down to our problem solving section. It says use a problem solving strategy. Write yes or no. Draw a picture to help you. So number 11 says Corey draws a figure. The 3 sides meet at the 3 corners. So you need to draw something that has 3 sides and 3 corners and write yes if it is a closed figure and no if it is an open figure. And number 12 says Jen draws a figure. She draws 4 sides and 3 corners. Remember, look up here. I have 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, but only 3 corners. Here's a big hint for number 12. And then you need to write yes or no. Did Jen draw a closed figure? And put an X at the box for critical thinking at the bottom of the page. You do not need to do that today. All right, I'll see you in a little while for English. Okay, hi guys, we're back for English. We're on pages 187 and 188. But before we start, I'm going to review just a little bit. Remember last week we talked about 2 words that mean the same thing or almost the same thing. Try to think if you can remember what they're called. Remember, it's not cinnamon, it's synonym. Good. And then this week we started talking about antonyms. Remember, antonym is just a fancy word for opposite. And so we're going to continue with antonyms on the front of our paper, looking for opposites. Let's look at the instructions at the top. It says circle the correct antonym to complete each sentence. Let's read number 1 together. The snowball feels. And inside the parentheses, we have the words hot and cold. Which antonym should you circle to fill in that sentence? The snowball feels. I hope you circled cold. You're going to do that for each sentence on the front. You're going to read the sentence and circle the correct antonym. Okay, let's look at the back. On the back on page 188, they're introducing something new, something we've already talked about a little bit. They're talking about homophones. And sometimes you'll hear homophones being called homonyms. They mean the same thing. There's synonyms. Homophone and homonym are synonyms. So it says homophones are words that sound alike but are spelled differently and have different meanings. And the example is, I can hear the music over here. And there's a fun trick for here and here. If we look at here and here, the here with the word ear in it is the one that means we hear, and the other one might mean that my chalk is over here. Okay, and let's look at the instructions under our example. Read each pair of homophones and then write each word. And they're helping you with it because they have a picture. So number 1 is blue and blue. So you're going to trace, or I'm sorry, you're not going to trace, you're going to write the word blue under blue. And they have the picture of the cloud blowing. And then write the word blue under the other blue, which is the color of the crayon. And I want you to think about it as you write it, because later on you are going to have to know which one is which without them telling you. So think about it. And we're going to do number 2 together also. I want to show you a little trick with meat. And we did talk about this one before. And meat. Remember, the meat that you eat has the word eat in it. And I can make a little face in my E's on my other meat and have 2 people meeting. Okay, meet and meet. So go ahead and finish writing the homophones on the back and finding the antonyms on the front.